With the crypto market seemingly back on track, the bull run reactivated, and lots of money flowing into this market, it is no surprise that we are about to get an insane move, and it could come as soon as Monday. Trillions of dollars might be heading to this market on two very, very important points. I'm going to break down both of those in this video, as well as taking a look at why stablecoins are going to be a big deal and a $1 million Bitcoin price prediction for a very, very reputable source. All of that in this video. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button as always. Don't forget to turn that notification bell so you don't miss a single beat in this market, because your portfolio simply will not forgive you. Right, with that being said, let's get into it. So like we said, the market on a slight recovery here. Bitcoin from that low of around 112.8 is bouncing back, breaking back above 114,000, and actually altcoins having a pretty good run today. Ethereum back above around 6.5%, as well as Solana and many others having a very good news story. The big question though is why? Why the frick did we dump yesterday? Why are we pumping today? And what's coming? And how do you sit there 2-bit and tell us that $1 million Bitcoin's coming by 2030? Well, let me break it all down for you and keep you posted. So recently, a high-ranking official, i.e. Chris Waller, was talking at Jackson Hole today and specifically mentioning cryptocurrency. Now, he is rumored to be a potential chair replacement for Jerome Powell. Now, in his speech today at Jackson Hole, he referred to smart contracts as well as tokenization and distributed ledger technology, saying this, quote, "There's nothing to fear when thinking about these things. Using innovative technologies to build new payment systems is nothing new." Now, this would be a massive shift from the Federal Reserve. We know that Jerome Powell doesn't really like risk assets. He's not really big on Bitcoin. But what we do know is at the minute, the whole landscape is shifting. Brian Armstrong himself coming on and talking specifically about the Trump administration, how the adoption of Bitcoin is here. And, well, he had this very interesting price prediction to tell us.
The rough idea I have in my head is like, we'll see $1 million Bitcoin by 2030. And there's high error bars around these things. But, just to give you a couple of data points, right? It's like, we're starting to see regulatory clarity emerge in the United States, which I think is a bellwether for the rest of the G20. You have the Genius Act passed now for stablecoins, but this market structure bill is being debated in the Senate. Fingers crossed something could happen by the end of this year. That would be a huge milestone. The United States government now has a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So that is, if you'd asked me 5 years ago, that would have been kind of like vision board. Someone would have said, you're crazy, like the United States government's not going to officially hold Bitcoin. But if they do that, which there's now an executive order to do, I think a bunch of other countries are going to do that.
So $1 million Bitcoin by 2030, well, you're going to want somebody to support that. Namely, the Federal Reserve would be a good news starter. The fact that now they're definitely pivoting on this, and we could see a new chair as well as new members. By the way, Trump going after Lisa Cook for mortgage fraud, a Biden-appointed member, although she has said she is not going to go. This would follow the same sort of route that we saw with Annalisa Kungler. The reality is, if he can't make Jerome Powell do it before he leaves, he's going to try and take every single person out there as well. Pretty crazy if you ask me. But if you think about regulatory clarity like Brian Armstrong talked about and how we get to $1 million Bitcoin, or more importantly, how we just get to the top of the next big Bitcoin move this cycle, well, you also need the SEC to come along with you. And in fact, Paul Atkins giving some very interesting views and recently, again, allowing a couple of big backed bills, almost giving Trump the green light to go big on Bitcoin. The reality is, Atkins clarified that the new approach does not mean a free-for-all, but rather a structural design to support responsible growth. He talked about making sure the industry doesn't have frustrations and that building decentralized applications as well as ICOs, airdrops, and network staking, that's going to be important for Ethereum, are going to be a big thing. And actually, they're going to support this narrative of getting these pushed through a little bit quicker. I actually think we're going to see this kind of massive influx of ETFs, as well as treasury companies, as much more, all starting to come to the market. And one of the big parts about that will be even people like the Federal Reserve looking at tokenization and how they can process payments quicker, faster, and more importantly, with real transparency. Well, they're all going to be using blockchain as well. And they're probably all going to use Ethereum. Let's just be honest about it. So the fact that Christopher Waller's talking about it, the SEC chair's talking about it, and freaking Brian Armstrong, who basically has said there that he's dealing with countries, governments, and everyone else, is telling us that Bitcoin's going to $1 million. Well, I wouldn't want to bet against him right now. But in the short term, what have we got that is almost super bullish that people aren't talking about? Well, the reality is this, and this is the stablecoin market, in particular, the Tether and Circle, or USDT and USDC markets, and more importantly, what's coming. Now, it is rumored that they will be the biggest holders of US treasuries. When you think about how that works, You're basically going to take your stable coins, you're going to hold US treasuries and get a yield of say 4% on them, which you then can convert back to holders of USDT. You then get into this world of, why is anyone ever going to need fiat ever again? And actually we get into this whole new total recall scenario where Bitcoin is the best digital asset to hold. We are a little bit away from there, but watch out, because actually there's lots of discussion going on right now that stable coins are growing quicker than any other asset market right now. And we are going to see a big move. And that's why you're seeing things like RLUSD as well come to the fore here. CryptoQuant, in fact, are now tracking large Bitcoin buys and large orders, specifically when it comes to companies, specifically strategy and many others, to understand why the market's not moving. Well, the reality is they are not buying from exchanges, they're buying from OTC. And this flow of money, that's why you're seeing such big issuance from these stablecoin markets, because, well, it's about to get crazier. And only for so long they're going to be able to suppress this market. For so long, they're not going to be able to show the fact that there's a huge amount of money. Just for example, the Saudi government, now they have a specific amount of capital that they are prepared to invest in risk assets. We know they've been toying with the idea of Bitcoin for a while. Well, a $460 billion injection into the Bitcoin price would skyrocket nearly $25,000 if they were to buy on exchanges. So when you start walking through some of this capital, well, what would then $4 billion do? What would $10 billion do? If you think about it, these would be absolutely skyrocketing the price. Everyone would go crazy. And that's probably a debate why the Fed may delay on their rate cuts. But right now, very bullish on the markets, lots and lots of optimism. And like I said, those key things to drive adoption: a Federal Reserve that is supportive of digital assets, an SEC which is supportive of innovation with digital assets, and a community and a country as well as a government bullish on the potential of this asset class. And that's why I think Bitcoin is set for a big move, and it might come after Jerome Powell's speech on Friday at Jackson Hole. We've got a video coming out for that. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. You can't miss that one. You're going to have to see it tomorrow before Jerome Powell speaks on Friday. It absolutely is going to play out both scenarios of good news and bad news. You don't want to miss it. So as always, hit the like and subscribe button. Don't forget to check out the links in the description if you want to come and join our free Discord channel where we talk about the greatest news, all the latest players, as well as just have a great community in there as well. Then don't miss out. It's totally free to join. Link in the description. Right. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.